My father was a very keen gardener, and he used to send me flower seeds. About 30 years ago, he died 15 to 20 years ago, and every packet had at least 5 stars on it because there was nothing in his garden that he didn't think was worth 5 stars. But then he got into a problem. If he thought it was really, really, really good, how many stars should he give it? Anyway, this one is Sisyrinchium striatum, this plant here. He gave 15 stars. That was to let me know this is really fantastic. It's a bit unusual that it should have grown in the East Midlands where it's very, very wet. It's always green, always raining. But it did, and it comes from Chile, this particular plant, and it gives a good vertical effect in the garden. There's this strong spikes of these soft, well, I don't know whether soft, buttery lemon flowers. You can see these have opened out a bit. That's only because we've had a storm has come through recently, but normally they're very, very vertical. It flowers in spring from about October, end of October, through into the summer. After a couple of years, the plants start to look pretty daggy. Now you can sort of pull all the old leaves off if you like, but I just let a few new plants germinate and grow. I mean, they always drop a few seeds around, let the new plants grow, pull the old plants out. So these plants have probably been in 2 years. This will be the last year it's in, and there'll be seedlings around somewhere which will take their spot. And they do seed in rather nice sort of ways. This isn't where we planted this plant, but you can see it come up seeded here next to this salvia, next to this Santolina. The Scabiosa or pink ocean flower you'll find in the florist shops is one from the Caucasus, Scabiosa caucasica. It comes from sort of wet, well, moist meadow areas in the Caucasus Mountains and really doesn't do very well here in central Victoria, although it's not a bad plant in the Dandenongs or the wetter areas and the cooler areas. Other Scabiosas you'll see, such as pink butterfly and blue butterfly, have blood from Ireland and sort of and England, and they droop terribly in our hot weather. This one is from a South African breeding, Scabiosa anthemifolia, and this stands up to the hottest weather. It's got big flowers, equally as big as the florist Scabiosa, but it's much easier to grow. And you can see we've got a lovely drift here, and it just fills in spaces around here where there's a gap for it. Starts flowering in the spring, it's probably at its best in the late spring, but we'll go on well into the summer, into January, when we will cut it back. And we cut it back just with head shears down to about 1 foot, just where these sort of, the fresh leaves are growing up here, there. But a superb plant. I don't think I could do without it really. I've always got a patch of this in the garden. It does come in mauve as well as this pink, a mauvey blue, as well as this pinky mauve, and that's just as good a plant. The ones like pink butterfly and blue butterfly, they are grown by the nursery trade because they are very neat plants. They look good in a 6-inch pot. And that's all very well, and the nurserymen have to be able to sell the plants, and sadly gardeners buy on impulse more often than not. But we have this problem that if a plant looks good in a 6-inch pot, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look good in the garden. So in the garden, it's much better to grow something like this. It's called Scabiosa pink lace.